Welcome to Setting Course, an ABS podcast, where we're charting the future of the marine and offshore industries. I'm your host, Brad Cox, and today we're recording on the floor at the Offshore Technology Conference in Houston, Texas. And where better to talk about the future of FPSOs and offshore production than right here at OTC. And we have two very special guests with me today to dig into how the floating production storage and offloading sector is shaping up and where FPSOs are heading into the future. First, it's my pleasure to introduce Jean-Charles Rinaldi, Group Sales and Marketing Director for SBM Offshore. It's great to have you with us, Jean-Charles.
Thank you for receiving us.
It's also great to have Miguel Hernandez, ABS Senior Vice President of Global Offshore, with us today. Thank you for joining the show, Miguel.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So let's jump right in here. Jean-Charles, what are the big trends in offshore production this year?
I think if you look at 2025 from a distance, this is a year where in our company, we're going to put a lot of production on stream. We're going to put about 650,000 barrels a day of additional production to our fleet. And that's mainly on very large assets, very large FPSOs. So if I were to give you a trend for 2025, it would be, large FPSOs are coming on stream. So we've been designing them, engineering them, building them, but now they're becoming on stream.
And Miguel, what are you seeing from this sector right now?
I think we have a different pivot, right? So they're delivering FPSOs. We are working with the likes of ABS and the other competitor group on what are the designs that are going into market today and what's going to be coming out in the future. So there's a lot of focus on sustainability and understanding digitalization. So it's two parts. We're connected to bringing oil on stream in the commissioning phase, but there's a lot of discussion on what's the future going to hold.
So, I think we can go into a little more detail here. Obviously there's some really fast growing markets for FPSOs, particularly like in South America or in Africa. So, why are FPSOs a preferred solution in those areas? Jean-Charles?
So first, if you look at offshore production, it's about a third of the production globally. So this is not going anywhere anytime soon. So there is a market out there. And then if you look at deep water production, I would say, or ultra deep water production, those are the region of interest. So if you look at a very large triangle between Brazil, Central America, Guyana, Suriname, and West Africa, this is clearly where you see those sweet spots for ultra deep, ultra energy intensive FPSOs. So that's where you can have low break evens. You can get low carbon intensity on those assets because of that geological gem that we have under our feet there.
And Miguel, from your perspective, what's really driving the FPSO trend in those markets?
I think I fully support what JC has mentioned. We have in the past 4 or 5 years looked at where is energy demand coming, where it's happening, and we have come to the realization as a planet that we all need affordable, reliable energy. And how do we get that? It's hydrocarbon based. The base load is not changing, as JC said. That's going to prevail for a very long time. We're going to add other things. In this industry, I think we should get credit for the innovation that it does in lowering and solving challenges. So my point here is we're going to continue to see it, and we're going to continue to bring energy to the world. We have to. And so in these areas, exact same places, it's where the concentration's at.
So pivoting a little bit here, digitalization is certainly a hot topic for industry at large, but there's special interest in offshore energy, artificial intelligence, digital twins, remote control operations, all that's very intriguing. So Miguel, how is digitalization impacting the FPSO sector?
I can give our opinion on it, right? But we have a part of what we do in the digital space as ABS and how we support our clients. JC will have a much broader understanding of what's happening on the top sides and the value they bring to their clients. So on the digital front for asset integrity management, which is where ABS can help, we're embracing what is digital twins, AI, for predictive analytics of how do you understand your vessel, how do you minimize maintenance and optimize your efforts when you are offshore to focus on the areas that need to be addressed.
And JC, how is digitalization impacting SBM Offshore's operations, and what are you guys doing to adapt and implement those innovations?
I think if you look at AI, data, digitalization at large, it's impacting all our lives. Yeah. Why not our work life? So if we look in our work life, what we're trying to achieve there is actually going beyond what we're doing today in our offering, as Miguel said. We're trying to go back to lower break evens, go back to lower carbon intensity, and digitization must be somewhere a tool we use to achieve those goals. If you look, we have a wealth of data. We've all collected data in our industry for the past decades or more. So what do we do with that data is what matters. So what we've put in place, we've put what experts would call a data ontology. This is trying to contextualize your data. You map it into a data layer that talks to each other, understands the relationship between the data. And when you have that right, you can scale up. You can multiply this across all your FPSOs, and this is when you can actually deliver value. So there's quite some exciting developments, I would say, these days, and we're going to be quite happy to present that soon to the world. It's coming up. And if I can add something, it's not only about digitalization, data, and AI, but it's about where you get your data. So if you look at the assets we have in Guyana, with the remote connotation we have, with jointly with ABS, having those remote operational capabilities will multiply as well. How much you can impact the life of the people offshore. What can you avoid doing offshore? It's not like if you have a plant here onshore that you can drive your truck to and do some repairs. Every time we go offshore, there's a lot of risk involved, there's a lot of cost involved. So what can we minimize there? And I think that the work we've done together there is going to be very helpful.
I'd like to add to that. I think we should give credit to the advancements that SBM and ExxonMobil have made in digitalization of offshore assets and minimizing and reducing the risk that occurs offshore. Offshore operations by nature are risky operations. And when companies like this and combined with ABS take the steps necessary to understand and innovate, use tools that allow you to have a better understanding of your asset without physically having to go there, that's one person is one less person exposed to risk. So this is one of the things that we're very, very proud of.
Right. Safety is certainly a cornerstone for us at ABS, and glad that you brought that up. So, kind of pivoting off of digitalization, you raised the point that can contribute to more efficient operations. So, part of that is reducing emissions. And so, it's also something that SBM Offshore is working on. So, Jean-Charles, can you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing around low carbon FPSO solutions?
Yeah, I think I'll do, maybe if you allow a two-step answer there. Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that this is a year where we put a lot of asset on stream. When you put an asset on stream, the startup operation is actually very carbon intensive if you don't plan for it properly. We've put in place a program for quite some years now about flawless startup. So we're reducing the flaring, the emissions that we have on starting all those giant units. And the achievements are pretty amazing. And from unit to unit, we see drastic reduction in the emissions we contribute to. And I think there we have operational, tangible achievement that are very, very material in terms of emission. And then if you look at more the design phase, what do we do in early on the FPSO? So yesterday or day before, I think we presented here our approval in principle for our near zero FPSO. And that's a concatenation of different technological aspects that we can bring together to reduce the emissions 70 to 80% of what we are doing today. And it's not a dream; it's something that we have jointly. We've through this AIP, we have a roadmap that is very tangible of what needs to be done for this to be a reality. So we can offer this to the market. So there's both designing for the future, and then I think we do that very very collaboratively with ABS. And then you have also the fact that today we have emissions and we can address those. You just need to take the right steps. It's not mainly technological aspects, it's also the drive and the commitment you have to it.
I think that kind of answers the question for Miguel as well, but how's ABS supporting SBM Offshore and the industry at large in reducing emissions in offshore operations?
As JC said, right, there are two parts to this. The world wants to, and we have a responsibility to reduce the carbon intensity of the oil we produce. And we have a part of where we say, how do we do that safely, protecting people, the property, environment at large? And then there are companies like SBM that come in and say, look, we have worked on a solution. We have a solution that we want to bring to market. And we collaborate. We go, look, I like this idea, but you could probably do this differently. How do you do this? And all of a sudden we end up at a much better position because they're innovating and we're supporting that innovation, making sure that the rules are in place to enable this to go forward, ensuring that regulators understand the technologies that are coming and what opportunity those technologies bring forward. So it's a partnership. It really is a partnership to decarbonize the offshore industry.
No, and I like the partnership approach. This is really what it is. There's nothing you can do alone in this industry.
So I'm going to ask you guys to predict the future a little bit here. How do you see this slice of the industry playing out over the next decade? Not just a matter of what and how much is being produced, but where are the opportunities for growth in offshore production? Jean-Charles?
So the listener will not see me pulling my crystal ball, but this is what I'm doing now. No, I think this is where, Miguel just mentioned partnering to support innovation. I think not later than yesterday, we signed a memorandum of understanding about innovation and growth. What are those, opportunities out there in the blue economy that is a very vast economy? There's a lot of untapped potential. So we do have a heritage, we do have a history, we understand how to put complex structures in the waters, we do understand how energy efficiency works, how how to deliver and put on stream very complex assets. But there's plenty of stuff we don't know. It's true. There's also many things we do not know, and we have to be humbled, I think, by the wealth of opportunity we have out there, and just working together with ABS, trying to understand with other industrial partners. Oh, what is this area looking like? What can we contribute to with the qualities we have to participate to the growth of this blue economy? So we think the landscape is bright. There's plenty of opportunities out there in terms of innovation and growth. But we need guidance, we need partnering, and we need to do this jointly to make sure that we go in the right direction.
And Miguel, what do you see in the future for FPSOs?
So I think it's a slight pivot, right? The majority of the ocean of the planet is covered in water. So the oceans have tremendous opportunity for us as civilization to exploit and make the planet a better place and bring energy from multiple different sources. So the production sector is going to continue to grow. It's not going away. And I think I'm quite proud of being involved in lowering the carbon intensity of the barrels that are coming to be produced, the oil that they're bringing online this year. In the next coming years, those barrels of oil are at a significantly lower carbon intensity than a barrel of oil that was produced 5 to 10 years ago that was brought on stream. Now, as we start to look and we go, what are other things, right? There's ammonia, there's hydrogen, there is solar, there's wind. There's a lot of other uses that we have in the ocean that partnering together we're going to continue to do. It's bringing energy to the world.
So we have a little extra time here, so I'll just go ahead and hit you guys with one more question. Do you have any closing thoughts for our listeners? Maybe one big takeaway you want people to take from this?
No, I think I'll just rebound on what Miguel just said. We discuss innovation, we discuss future, but today we're also doing quite amazing stuff. I think we should take pride in what we're doing, and we do. And if you look, there is production today. We are quite proud to produce it in a very responsible manner. We have assets, that are also achieved the Sustain 2 notation. I think very recently we displayed that last year. So we're doing it in a sustainable manner, and we want to continue doing it. Deep offshore market is growing about 33% by the end of the decade. So we want to be, relevant in that space, but we want to do it responsibly. So I think to give you the closing words, but what you just said, I think for me is a key takeaway. Keep doing it, be proud of it, and do it responsibly.
I appreciate the partnership because there's a lot that's happening in the offshore space, and we do a lot. We collaborate. The key to fixing and moving forward in our industry and bringing energy to the world is collaboration, get engagement early. That's how we do it.
Okay, well, wrapping up here, I want to thank you both again for joining us here at OTC for this special episode. Jean-Charles, a special thank you to you and SBM Offshore for participating. And of course, thank you, Miguel, for providing great insight from the class side.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And for all our listeners, both digital and here in person, thank you for joining us for another episode of Setting Course, an ABS podcast. To learn more about what's happening in the offshore industry, visit us at www.eagle.org. Thank you for listening.